I will now call to order the April 4, 2024 Clackamas County Commissioners Business Meeting. Please rise. Oh, no, we're going to call the roll. Gary Schmidt, Administrator.
Thank you, Chair Smith. First, our staff support today. Clerk to the Board, Tony Mayernick. County Counsel, Stephen Madcore. Roll call, Commissioner Savas.
Present.
Commissioner Schrader.
Here.
Commissioner West.
Here.
Commissioner Shull.
Here.
Chair Smith.
Here. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good morning, everyone. We are holding this meeting in person and virtually. If you've joined us via Zoom for this meeting and are interested in providing public comment, we will prompt you regarding how to do that when the time is right. General public comment will be taken at the usual allotted time. I would like to remind all participants, including staff, elected officials, and members of the public, that we will be following Robert's Rules of Order in this business meeting. We welcome your opinions and look forward to your polite participation. Gary, we will now recess as the Board of County Commissioners and convene as a housing authority of Clackamas County.
Thank you, Chair. You are now meeting as a Housing Authority of Clackamas County. Joining you online is Housing Resident Commissioner Ann Leenstra. We'll wait just a moment for her, please.
Good morning.
Welcome, Commissioner Leenstra. This is consent agenda for the Housing Authority. Tony, would you please read the consent agenda?
Housing Authority consent agenda, 2 items. Item 1, approval of Resolution 1982 for the approval of Housing Authority fiscal year 2024-2025 annual plan and moving to work supplement required for grant funding from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. A grant value is approximately $30 million. No county general funds are involved. Item 2, approval of Resolution 1981 authorizing designated officer authority to finalize and execute development agreements for Hillside Park Buildings A, B, and C. Project estimated cost $147,700,000. Funding is from local, state, and federal sources. No county general funds are involved.
Thank you. Does any commissioner wish to remove anything from this consent agenda? Ann Leenstra, I will consider a motion.
I move we approve the Housing Authority consent agenda.
Second.
Commissioner Leenstra has moved we approve the Housing Authority consent agenda, and Commissioner Savas has seconded the motion. Any further discussion? Seeing none. Tony, would you please take the poll?
Commissioner West?
Aye.
Commissioner Schrader?
Aye.
Commissioner Shull?
Aye.
Commissioner Savas?
Aye.
Commissioner Leenstra?
Aye.
Chair Smith?
Aye. Motion passes 6-0. Thank you, Ann, for attending today.
You're welcome.
I will now adjourn as a Housing Authority Board and convene as a Clackamas County Service District 5 Light Streeting Board of Directors.
You are now meeting as the Service District Number 5 Board of Directors. This is a street lighting district for Clackamas County. This is a public hearing. Item 1, approval of a board order forming new assessment areas within Clackamas County Service District Number 5. Current value from the addition of 21 assessment areas is estimated at $1,113 annually. Funding is through district ratepayers. No county general funds are involved. Dan Johnson, Director of Transportation and Development, and Wendy Coriel, Service District Specialist. Go ahead, please.
Thank you so much. Chair Smith, Commissioners, we are here today. Nothing new. We're talking about lights, an illuminating topic. Street lights within Clackamas County. Just for the public's benefit, if you recall, street lights are provided through capital projects where we put street lights up. They're provided through development where lights are required or conditioned. And they are also provided through petitions we may receive from various citizens. This is a part of that process, which is basically to add additional properties through this process to help pay for and offset the cost of those lights. You're going to see some changes to our presentation today in concert and discussions with the clerk of the board and county council. To shorten it a little bit, we don't have to read every specific line. We can just reference these, but I'm going to hand it over to Wendy Coriel to kind of run through the presentation today, and we'll be happy to answer any questions afterwards.
Okay, good morning. I'm Wendy Coriel, Clackamas County Service District Number 5, and I'm responsible for street lighting in the unincorporated areas of Clackamas County and the city of Happy Valley. Street lighting, as Dan has indicated, is required as conditions of approval for residential, commercial, industrial, multifamily developments within the urban area of Clackamas County and the city of Happy Valley. 21 items before you today, 17 are in the unincorporated area, and 4 are in the city of Happy Valley. There are 15 areas that are covered under Rate B, which is at $47 per tax lot each year. And these projects will be installed with Cobra-style lighting on existing wood poles. And then 6 of the areas will be covered under Rate C, which is $65 per tax lot each year. And these are Cobra-style lighting on new fiberglass poles. The property owners of these areas signed in approval of the assessment prior to the meeting today and prior to the installation of the street lighting. Prior to scheduling this hearing today, the street lighting district notified the property owners that each area was going to be part of the public hearing, and they could have any questions answered, and we could review the next steps. And I didn't get any response from that, so no remonstrances were received. That concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
Before we ask the directors any qualifying questions or comments, so this particular assessment has been a request from the landowners in the area that they would pay for street lighting, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you, because I just want to make sure that we're not imposing our will on some other group who did not want it. Any questions or comments?
Was that petition request, was that unanimous?
These are land use approval projects, and so, yes, they are unanimous in terms of, like, when a project moves forward, it is just usually one property owner, and they sign to that. And
Okay.
so
Yeah,
these are
versus-
individual land use.
Versus the petition request, which you're familiar with, where we may have multiple landowners along a road come and provide a petition.
Right.
Okay. I will now open the meeting for public testimony on this issue only. Is there anyone in the room who would like to testify on the expansion of the street lighting district? I see no one in the room who would like to testify. Tony, is there anyone online who would like to testify on this particular issue of street lighting?
If you would like to testify on the street lighting public hearing, please use the raise hand feature, and I will call on you in the order received. Madam Chair, I do not have any hands raised.
Thank you. I will now close the public hearing and ask if there's any further discussion. I'll entertain a motion.
I move we approve the board order forming new assessment areas within Clackamas County Service District Number 5.
Second.
Commissioner Scholl has moved, we approve the board order forming new assessment areas within Clackamas County Service District Number 5, and Commissioner Savas has seconded the motion. Any further discussion? Yes.
I'd just like to say thank you once again for your efforts to provide this important safety service to the county and for doing it so economically. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no further discussion, will the clerk please call the roll?
Director Schrader.
Aye.
Director West.
Aye.
Director Savas.
Aye.
Director Scholl.
Aye.
Chair Smith.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Thank you very much. I will now adjourn as the Service District Number 5 Street Lighting Board of Directors and reconvene as a Board of County Commissioners. Gary, what's next?
Next, Chair, is a presentation proclaiming April 2024 as Grange Month in Clackamas County. Tony Marinick, Clerk to the Board, will present, and we also have several guests here from the Grange.
Tony, before you read the proclamation, I'm going to ask Don Kingsborough if you would like to come forward. Please introduce yourself, and then Tony will read the proclamation.
Good morning. Maybe if I sit?
Yeah, sit. It's more comfortable. You can sit.
Well, good morning. My name is Don Kingsborough. I am here this morning with some brothers and sisters representing the Clackamas
Don,
Pomona
I'm getting a
Grange.
signal that the staff in back cannot hear you, so you might have to sit down and talk directly into the mic, because it records.
How's that? Can they hear me?
I can hear you, but they couldn't.
Can you all hear me now?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Good morning. My name is Don Kingsborough. I'm here this morning with brothers and sisters representing Clackamas Pomona Grange, number 1.
Thank you. Tony, would you go ahead and read the proclamation, please?
In the matter of proclaiming April 2024 as Grange Month in Clackamas County. Whereas this matter coming before the board at this time, it appearing that the Grange's mission to strengthen individuals, families, and communities through grassroots action, service, education, advocacy, and agricultural awareness fits within the board's goals to grow a vibrant economy and ensure safe, healthy, and secure communities. And whereas for 156 years, the Grange has played an essential and lasting role in building rural and small-town America and ensuring its resiliency through advocacy and direct service. And whereas the Grange today is growing because it is an active, rooted, resilient, and united organization in thousands of communities across the country. And whereas the Grange continues its unique role of connecting rural America to urban America through agriculture appreciation and education and by advocating for strong, common sense, best for everyone public policy. And whereas the Grange emphasizes civic responsibility and the involvement of citizens in the legislative process. And whereas the Grange offers opportunities for civil discussions amongst people of all viewpoints and opinions, serving as a safe space for exploring important social and legislative issues of the day. And whereas even through a worldwide pandemic, the Grange continued to promote its service to the local community and volunteerism to improve the quality of life and economic well-being of its members and residents across America. And whereas the Grange is proud to be Grange strong, rooted, resilient, and united, and encourages Granges and community members to come together in celebrating hometown pride and civic and sustainability. And whereas Grange members everywhere desire and deserve to celebrate and express their pride in the legacy of such a highly respected organization. Now, therefore, the Clackamas County Board of County Commissioners do hereby resolve to proclaim April 2024 as Grange Month in Clackamas County.
Thank you, Tony. Don Kingsborough, would you like to say anything?
Madam Chair and Commissioners, thank you for this opportunity, and thank you for the reading of the proclamation. First of all, I'm not sure apology is the right word, but I would like to explain that one of our members had an emergency in her family, and she is the one that is in possession of the gifts that we had for you this morning.
Cookies? Cookies?
No.
Oh.
No.
I just thought I'd make my pitch.
Sorry, Tootie, no, it wasn't cookies. It was actually a history of the Oregon State Grange. It's a hardback book. It's a delightful book. It talks about the whole history of the Oregon State Grange, which is, back to the 1870s. So anyway, she had an emergency in her family, and we're going to deal with it. I will make sure that you get your copy of that book.
Good.
In your packets, you have an invitation to a candidates fair coming up in May, and you have an invitation to breakfast. There you go. Yes, and Commissioner Scholl was at a candidates fair, but it was during pandemic. Commissioner West was at the one we did 2 years ago at Abernathy Grange. And I think that the rest of you have probably been part of it in the past. So I want to report this morning on some community service that your Granges in Clackamas County do. And I'll try to make it brief, maybe just give one or two highlights of each Grange. Garfield Grange is known as a quilting Grange. There are ladies out there that have actually national recognition for the quilts that they make, and many of their quilts are donated to veterans and to other people that need quilts. Molalla Grange, very, very deep into scholarships. Kids in the Molalla High School District earn these scholarships through application and doing good grades. Excuse me. Molalla Grange is also very good at letting their hall be used by members of that community. Abernathy Grange, they make pillowcases with a patriotic flavor, and many, many of these pillowcases go to veterans throughout Oregon and especially to the Veterans Village. Beaver Creek Grange, home to the Beaver Creek Lions and home to the Beaver Creek Hamlet and other organizations that meet there. I might say, too, that in competition with Springwater Grange, this coming Saturday, Beaver Creek is having the breakfast 8 to 11, I believe, and they do a pretty good job. Maybe not as good as Springwater. Milwaukee Grange. Milwaukee Grange is used by many groups in the city and the area of Milwaukee. And Milwaukee Grange is suffering a little bit now for membership, but their hall is being used. Springwater Grange. Springwater Grange, which is one of the Granges I belong to, we do scholarships. In fact, Ken Humberston, I think you all know Ken, used to be on the commission. He is usually our auctioneer. He comes out, and this last year, just a couple of months ago, we made over $3,000 in scholarships. Ken did a wonderful job of auctioneering. We also do a community fair once a year. The kids in the neighborhood bring their rabbits and their ponies, and they come and they have fun at our Grange Hall during a fair. We donate funds to the Estacada Food Bank monthly. And we're having a breakfast this Saturday, $8 all you can eat, no commercials here. Redland Grange. Redland Grange has community fairs and, farmers markets. They also do blood drives, and they are very, very big in their community. Sunnyside Grange has regular blood drives once every 2 months, I believe it is. They also contribute to the food bank. And this last March, they donated 250 pounds. Eagle Creek Grange has an Easter egg hunt for the kids. Every year they've been doing this for 30, 40 years, and the kids come out and get their eggs, and they're also a big part of the community. The Pomona Grange, which is what I'm representing today, is an association of all 16 Granges in Clackamas County. The Pomona Grange does not have its own building, but we meet in different halls quarterly. The Pomona Grange's official community service project is the Veterans Village. And as speaking on behalf of the Clackamas Pomona Grange, I can't tell you how proud we are of you commissioners for having created that village. It is tremendous. I've been involved with it since before. Look at the smile on Martha's face. I've been involved with it since you all made the decision at the Clackamas County Fair to do it. And Commissioner Fisher came to one of our Pomona meetings and presented the plan before it was built. And at that meeting, a member of the Pomona Grange said, we should have dinner with them once a month. We have had dinner once a month on a Sunday, the third Sunday of every month, since you guys put the village in. So Clark's Grange, which is a wonderful Grange in our county, they prepared dinner at their Grange Hall. They transported it in these big containers. We set it out at the hall about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And the fellow that, Steve Leitz, who's a member of Springwater Grange and owns a Baskin-Robbins in Gladstone, he donates the ice cream. And I'll tell you what, when I show up with those bags of ice cream, those veterans are all smiles. It has been a real pleasure for me personally to watch fellows come in there that are humble and don't want to speak. And 6 months or a year later, these fellows are patting you on the back, shaking your hand, eating dinner, and they're on their way out into permanent housing. Thank you, commissioners. That's it.
Thank you, Don.
Oh, thank you, Tootie.
I'm glad you finally got around to mentioning Clark's Grange, of which my membership resides. Whew, we almost missed out.
Clark's is a wonderful Grange, and you're probably aware they do a lot of barbecuing, a lot of dinners, and for groups. For instance, the alumni of Molalla High School, they do that. They also have a large supply of first aid equipment. First aid may not be the correct word. Nursing equipment, such as beds, crank up beds, wheelchairs, that kind of thing. And they supply that to members of the community at no charge. And while I'm talking about Granges and no charge, you all should know that our Grange halls are available for you to have public meetings. So if you have an issue that you're doing out in Redland, like where you've got the road all torn up for the last several months, you could have a meeting at Redland Grange Hall and explain to the neighbors what you're doing to their road, or Springwater, or Garfield, or Eagle Creek, or Clark's, or Maplewood, or wherever you all want to do it. So
That's good to know. Yes, Clark's Grange, I just have to say, is a wonderful catering service, and they catered my daughter's wedding.
aha,
And
aha.
people are still raving about the food. seriously.
And did you have the wedding at the Grange Hall?
No, at my farm.
At your farm? Ah.
So they came in, they set up, they just did everything, and it was really a lot of fun.
That's wonderful.
Yes. And
That's
Bev
wonderful.
Bush was one of the main people there, and Annette Naylor, Jeannie's sister, was there, and it was a lot of fun. Before I take Commissioners' comments, we have this invitation of Spring Water's monthly breakfast this Saturday from 7 to 11, and we get pancakes, hash browns, biscuits, and gravy.
Okay.
And if I may throw out, before I go back to my brothers and sisters, Beaver Creek is doing the same thing, 8 to 11. Am I correct?
Okay.
Correct. 8 to 11. They have a very similar breakfast.
Okay, great. Commissioner Schrader, you're up.
I think we're going to be not hungry on Saturday, okay?
Right?
We can go from one to the other. That's going to be really fun. Yeah, I just wanted to thank you for all you do because, and my question is this, really what you do should be taught in civics classes in our communities. Do you have any kind of a program at the larger level that works with the school systems and people to teach what you're doing as really, it's civic responsibility in building community? So is there any nexus there? Because I'm starting to find out that I don't think the young people today are getting enough citizenship training, and that it involves rights as well as responsibilities, and you guys provide the responsibility piece of how to build communities. So is there anything like that going on? Is anybody,
Well,
you know?
Martha, one of the purposes of Grange is to build a better manhood and womanhood, and we do that through participation, through community service. Our ritual is tied to agriculture. We have, as you were asking the question, I don't have a clear answer because I'm not familiar with national programs, but in Oregon, and actually across the United States, there's a program called the Dictionary Project, and many of our Granges in Clackamas County in Oregon purchase dictionaries from a organization in Carolina, either north or south, and it's called the Dictionary Project, or Words for Thirds. We at Warner Grange have presented dictionaries to Caris Elementary and Lee Elementary for probably 20 years now. So every third grade class, we go once a year to the third grade class, we give every child his own dictionary. Prior to pandemic, we did a speech or a indoctrination, telling them about Grange and telling them that our hall was available, telling them about junior Grange, youth Grange, and what they could do. Since pandemic, the Canby School District has not allowed us to make presentations to the kids. My other Grange, Springwater Grange, our chairman out there is able to make presentations. And we have been benefited by some of those youth coming to our meetings and discovering what it is we do. So I don't have a clear answer to your question. I know that one of Grange's goals is to help education as much as we can. And, you know, in addition to the dictionaries, some Granges give regular books, some Granges give money. There are, at Springwater Grange, we had a project where we gave pumpkin seeds to the schools and then asked the kids to bring those pumpkins back. We gave them the seeds in the spring, asked them to bring the pumpkins back in the fall. We didn't do real well, but, you know, it's a project in its infancy. I like your idea, and I know the state of Oregon a few years ago in the legislature was discussing requiring civics classes.
Yeah.
So I agree, but there's, I don't know, I don't have an answer, so.
I hope you don't mind if I mention this to Oregon City School District and some of the school districts I know, because I've been working on a curriculum to teach kids about county government, because a lot of times they don't really know what that is. And Gary knows about this because I've been, well, hopefully we'll get some kids here at some point, but I have to make sure that I'm crossing every T and dotting every I before I make a big deal out of it. But it seems to me that what you folks do should be included in the curriculum of a real example of what civics on the ground is for our communities.
Well,
Because-
thank you for recognizing that and
Yeah.
making the comment. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, so I want that book as soon as you can get it to us, okay? That'll start the whole thing off.
I will do that.
Yeah.
So physically, should I make the presentation at a meeting here, or should I get them to?
Why don't you contact Gary Schmidt or Tony Mayorneck, our clerk, and they
Okay.
can take care of that for you.
Okay, when I get physical possession of the books, then I will do that. Okay,
And we'll-
thank you.
We'll figure it out.
Okay, all right.
Commissioner Scholl?
Yes. Thank you, Don, for being here this morning. And I would like to thank all the people in Clackamas County who work to preserve our granges and nurture the American spirit and American citizenship and respect for our farmlands, respect for our families, and respect for our county and our nation. Thank you. I always enjoy, every time I go to a grange in Clackamas County, I have the best time. Some of my most memorable experiences have to do with food. And I'm very proud to say that the Boring Grange, they do a wonderful strawberry waffle breakfast that I look forward to every year. And so I hope to get out to the Springwater breakfast this week and try some of your pancakes. Thank you very much for your work for Clackamas County.
Thank you, Mark, and I apologize for omitting Boring Damascus Grange. They're a wonderful grange, and they have a theater that meets in that grange regularly and have plays for the community. And yes, their strawberry waffles are terrific. So you make me hungry just sitting here.
Thank you. Commissioner Savas?
Yeah, ditto to that. So that reminds me that that strawberry boring one's coming up here soon, if I recall right. It's this time of year, spring. So, Don, thank you for being here today. I just wanted to shed some light on people. We talk about the village. I want to just, for people that are watching, I think most people in this room know, but the Veterans Village is what you're referring to, which is our first housing project for homeless, houseless veterans that we did several years ago. And just want to say that every time I give tours out there, you know, I hear people rave about the food from the Grange coming in. So during the week, every week, religiously. So thank you for that. I just want to thank everyone that that's well recognized, and I really think that the staff and the residents there really appreciate that. So thank you.
Absolutely. Commissioner West?
Thank you, Chair. Don, thank you for coming, and everybody else with the Grange. Can you guys, can they hear me?
Is your light on?
The light is green. Can you hear me? We're good? Okay, I just saw the technical guys giving me some signals in the back. So, okay, I'll start over. Don, thank you for coming, and everybody here from the Grange. This is a really a wonderful celebration and opportunity to recognize the importance of Grange activity and the work that you guys do. I just want to also touch on the importance of being an engaged citizenry. From the very founding of our country, the founders have very much talked about the importance of an engaged citizenry for the health and the well-being and the future of the country. And we all have a responsibility to stay engaged. And so my interaction with the Grange was as a candidate, as you said, and you guys provided a forum to hear the voices of the different people that have put their names out there to try to do public service and to do this work. And I had a couple opportunities to do that in various Granges. And it was a great experience. You guys did a great job. People came to listen to us in a very neutral place to allow us to have the exchange of ideas, the free exchange of ideas, which is so healthy in any free society or democracy or representative republic. And so I want to thank you for that opportunity. It was well done. It was effective. I think it was one of the ways in which y'all have been able to help engage and inform and educate and advocate for local communities and local government. And I look forward to getting to know you guys more and see and go to more of your events and help promote those things and promote civic involvement. I think it's super important to understand what your local government is doing And I always tell people that the government closest to you impacts your life the most, and often that's things like school board, it's county commissioners, it's your city level governments, right? Sometimes we get very overwhelmed with the other important layers of government and our federal system, all the way from the executive branch of the presidency to the legislature and all. But sometimes what impacts your life the most is, did we fill that pothole that we promised to fill? And I was talking to Commissioner Schrader yesterday. I was like, let's use that metaphorically. As county commissioners, we just have to fill potholes, big and small. The buck stops with us. We're the boots on the ground. And sometimes that pothole or issue we're dealing with is super big, and sometimes it's relatively small and we can jump right on it. But we have to be responsive to filling potholes. No one else is going to fill them but us. And we were just laughing about the different potholes or big issues that we've had to tackle over the last year. And you guys have helped us do that and inform our neighbors and communities in those efforts, and hearing back from them what is important or the big pothole in their community that needs to be addressed. So literal potholes and metaphorical ones, all the same. So thank you for participating in that with us and partnering with us, and giving us an opportunity to have a resilient, healthy community from that grassroots level. It's really important and essential to the DNA of who we are. So I really appreciate it. And I look forward to going to more of your events and participating further. Thank you.
And Ben, I just want to say the other thing I said was potholes are nonpartisan.
Yeah, potholes are nonpartisan. We all want a pothole filled, right? Yeah.
We're all Americans.
None of us want a flat tire and as we go through this journey together. That's right.
Well, Ben, thank you for those kind comments, and I agree with what you said, and I've tried to tell many, many people, all the publicity goes to what's going on in the national program, and some goes to the state. But when you guys change a zone on a piece of property, or you fill a pothole, or something else in the county, that affects my daily life. And so you are the closest to me, other than the city council, because I live inside a city, but you guys are the ones that affect my life every day. And thank you, by the way. I haven't gotten a flat tire on a Clackamas County road, I don't think, ever.
Thank you.
So thank you. And Paul, echoing on what you said, I don't know if you guys realize, but the beautiful benefit of the Veterans Village is that it's not all paid for by you guys. There, in addition to the Grange, now the Pomona Grange does some volunteering out there, but each individual Grange does also. They supply not only the pillowcases I mentioned, but they supply toilet paper and paper towels and stuff like that. We get a list from Steve, whenever I go out there and get the list. And so what you have created is a public-private partnership. And speaking personally, I'm incredibly proud of you. Thank you. So.
Thank you, Don. We're going to proceed. We still have more to this program. Commissioners, there's a motion written in our document. Who would like to make a motion?
I'm happy to.
Go ahead, Commissioner
I move
Savas.
to approve the resolution proclaiming April 2024 as Grange Month in Clackamas County.
Chair, I'll second.
Commissioner Savas has moved we approve the resolution proclaiming April 2024 as Grange Month in Clackamas County. Commissioner West has seconded the motion. Any further discussion? Seeing
Get them
none,
pancakes going.
would the clerk please take the poll?
Commissioner Shaw,
Aye.
Commissioner Schrader,
Aye.
Commissioner West,
Aye.
Commissioner Savas,
Aye.
Chair Smith.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Thank you very much. Gary, I believe we have a photo opportunity.
Yes, if all the Grange members will please come forward for a picture.
And then commissioners, just tell us where to go.
We'll just have you all the way back. Tallest in the back is in the back. Make friends. All right, we're gonna have some move on this side. All right. Don't be shy. All right, everyone look here. And just keep going. We're going to take a few. And one more. All right. Thank you all. You want to come out this way?
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Breathe.
Thanks a lot for that wonderful presentation, very enlightening, very educational. Gary, what's up next?
Thank you, Chair. Next is the consent agenda. Tony, would you please read the consent agenda?
Clackamas County Consent Agenda. Elected officials, item 1, approval of previous business meeting minutes for the Board of County Commissioners. Finance, item 1, approval of a supplemental under 10% budget resolution for fiscal year 2023-2024, net increase in appropriations of $9,865,861. Funding is through beginning fund balance increases, other revenue sources, federal grants, charges for services, and other interfund transfers. No county general funds are involved. Technology Services, item 1, approval of an intergovernmental agreement with the City of Sandy for hosting the Clackamas Broadband Exchange server for the American Rescue Plan Act broadband expansion. Total value is $5,400 for 2 years. Funding is through the Clackamas Broadband Exchange ARPA Broadband Expansion Fund. No county general funds are involved. Transportation and Development, item 1, approval of an intergovernmental agreement with Oak Lodge Water Services relating to the Boardman Avenue, Arista Avenue flood attenuation option study. Agreement value is $100,000 for 21 months. Funding is through Oak Lodge Water Services and county road funds. No county general funds are involved. Item 2, approval of a guaranteed maximum price contract with PNC Construction for construction renovations of Concord Community Center. Amendment value is $6,160,262. Funding through Hoodview disposition proceeds, $609,716 of NCPRD system development charge funds, and $5,550,546 of budgeted NCPRD general funds. No county general funds are involved. Health, Housing, Human Services, item 1, approval of amendment number 1 to a revenue intergovernmental agreement with the state of Oregon for the operation of Community Developmental Disability Program Services. Amendment value is $293,450.50. Agreement value is increased to $29,688,449.50 for 2 years. Funding is through federal Medicaid funds and state general funds. No county general funds are involved. Item 2, approval of amendment number 1, updating language and adjusting match requirement of a revenue intergovernmental agreement with the Oregon Department of Transportation for capital funding for Mount Hood Express services. Agreement value remains $366,592 for 4 years. Funding is through the Federal Transit Administration, statewide transportation improvement funds, and private matching. No county general funds are involved. Item 3, approval to apply for the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program Training and Employment Program grant to increase employment services in Clackamas County. Anticipated value is $163,000 for 1 year. Funding is through Oregon Department of Human Services. The match funded through Metro Supportive Housing Services Measure funds. No county general funds are involved. Item 4, approval of a revenue county services agreement with Health Share of Oregon for reimbursement of community-based public health services to Medicaid members. Agreement value is $799,216 for 1 year. Funding is through Health Share of Oregon. No county general funds are involved. Item 5, approval of amendment number 1, extending the duration of an intergovernmental grant agreement with the Oregon Health Authority for Behavioral Health Workforce Incentive Fund. Amendment extends agreement by 12 months. Agreement value is now $381,250 over 26 months. Funding is through the Oregon Health Authority. No county general funds are involved. Item 6, approval to apply for a grant from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration for treatment court programs. Anticipated grant award is $2 million over 5 years. Funding is through the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration. No county general funds are involved. Item 7, approval to apply for a grant from the Oregon Health Authority for the Healthy Homes Grant Program. Anticipated award is $250,000 over 3 years. Funding is through the Oregon Health Authority. No county general funds are involved. Madam Chair, that concludes the list.
Thank you, Tony. Does any commissioner wish to remove an item from the consent agenda?
No, Chair, but I would like to just comment on one.
Sure.
On item D2, I mentioned this on Tuesday, but you're all here, so I wanted to point it out. A couple weeks ago at the last NCPRD Board of Directors meeting, I failed to mention, and I apologize, when we were discussing the community center and the investment in that a good portion of that building is going to be the home, or has been the home of NCPRD administration and staff. So a good chunk of that building is being used for that, and on a daily basis, continues to be used for that. So I just want to mention that.
Thank you. Any other comments? I will entertain a motion.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Commissioner Savas has moved for approval of the consent agenda, and Commissioner Schrader has seconded the motion. Any further discussion? Tony, would you please call the poll?
Commissioner West.
Aye.
Commissioner Schull.
Aye.
Commissioner Schrader.
Aye.
Commissioner Savas.
Aye.
Chair Smith.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Thank you very much. Up next is public communication. This portion of the agenda shall be limited to items of county business, which are properly the object of board consideration and should be nonpartisan in nature, as the BCC is a nonpartisan governing body under Oregon Revised Statutes and County Code. Testimony is limited to 3 minutes. Comments shall be respectful and courteous to all. As a reminder, you can email submissions for public communication at bcc@clackamas.us, and these will be accepted as part of the public record. I will now open the meeting for public testimony, and I will take in-person testimony first. Is there anybody in the room who would like to come forward and speak? I do not see anyone in the room. Tony, is there anyone online who would like to speak?
If you would like to testify, please use the raise hand feature and I will call on you in the order received. Madam Chair, I do not have any hands raised.
Well, thank you. I will now close the public communication portion of this meeting, and we will move on. Gary, what's next?
Next is County Administrator Update. That's me. I like to share the good work of our county employees and our programs. Today, I'd like to recognize our staff of Transportation and Development, road crews who fill in potholes. Yes, as soon as we get notice of potholes, our staff fixes them almost immediately. And in this case, a resident of Canby wrote in, "Thank you for getting the potholes filled on Gribble Road, Highway 170, so quickly. I really appreciate it. You are amazing. Thank you." Thank you. That's true. This is Canby area. A resident noticed it. Our staff fixed it. Thank you. Next, Clackamas County Public Health and Washington County Public Health have teamed up to create a campaign effort called Prevent Drug Overdose that educates the community on fentanyl overdoses. This is a serious issue in the Tri-County region here in the Portland area, and many surveys have shown that people don't know what fentanyl is. They know what fentanyl is, but they don't know how to identify it or to help with an overdose. So this joint effort with Clackamas and Washington counties helps people recognize an overdose, how to reverse it, and to seek treatment immediately. A toolkit has been developed for community partners, along with direct outreach via websites, social media, and streaming ads. So far, 20 community-based organizations in Washington and Clackamas County have used this toolkit. One, Care Oregon, wrote in, "This is excellent. I love the websites being in both English and Spanish, and as someone who used to do social media for a small nonprofit, I extra appreciate the campaign toolkit. It makes all the difference." So thank you to our staff of Public Health and Health, Housing, Human Services on this innovative idea to help support our community. That is my update for today. Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you, Gary. Very good. Now up next is Commissioner Communication. Up first, Commissioner West, welcome back.
Thank you, Chair. It's been hit the ground running. For those that don't know, I was gone for a number of weeks, most of which I was serving and on orders for the United States Navy as a naval officer, and enjoyed that, but very much thankful to be back in Clackamas County, and I'm very thankful that I'm not eating at the Nahal Chow Center any longer. I thank you for the men and women that served us food every single day, but nothing is quite like a home-cooked meal, and I appreciate that right now. And it was great to walk in the door after a really awful flight and see my family waiting for me with a bunch of friends with signs, and my son run up and give me a big squeeze around the neck and let me know that he missed me. So those are very special moments that I got to experience this week. So thank you for all of the support. It's one thing that was really interesting that I never experienced in my life was when we would go on leave for the weekend, we would be in full officer khaki uniforms. So if we go out to Newport, Rhode Island, or one weekend we were in Boston, we would have a couple days to kind of just blow off steam and hang out with our colleagues and other sailors. And just the amount of just kindness and appreciation from strangers, everyday citizens, pulling us aside and saying, we really appreciate your service. That support means the world to us, and we felt that deeply. So here at home and then across the other side of the country, receiving that support was wonderful. I'm really, really thankful to be back. I got to chair my first public meeting as the vice chair, so that was a learning experience for me. As Chair Smith, you were out ill.
I was
so I
ill.
got to jump right into literally right into the boiling pot, right?
I'm sorry to do that for you, but
She called me the day before. I had just got home, and she's like, guess what? You get to be the vice chair. So that was an exciting opportunity for me. And thank you, everybody, for your patience as I learned how to do that. Some big things coming around the corner. I'm this week super proud of the meeting we had yesterday. Clackamas County, I don't know if everybody knows this, but not just regionally or even in the Portland area, but a lot of people across the West Coast and the country have looked at our leadership and success. How are you guys so successful in the spaces around addiction and homelessness and the fentanyl crisis, especially within the Portland area? Because also often the only news we hear coming out of Oregon is so negative. But then there's this little bright spot in Oregon that outperforms the rest of the state and has a little different step to it, has a little bit different way of doing it, and that's the Clackamas County way that Chair Smith talks about, and it's been very successful this year. And so it has been one little step in that same direction that speaks to our overall plan that we developed in the recovery-oriented system of care. Was yesterday when we had a long public meeting on how to continue to engage our 16 cities. So the Tri-County area, Clackamas County has the most, I think we have the most independent cities within our borders, right? Multnomah County has Portland and has a couple other cities, and they have Gresham, and then they have, Washington County has some cities, but we have 16 independent, elected, run municipalities within our borders. And one of the great stories of Clackamas County is how the unification between the counties and the cities to take on two of the biggest, topics, I feel like, in the state. I feel like tolling is a big deal, and we just got big news on that. The reason why I think we have even a bigger pause or halt, or maybe it's not going anywhere, was because of the 16 cities that partnered with us. That was critical. You hear Commissioner Savas talk about that all the time. And another one where I think that we have said, hey, we're all in this together regardless of politics, has been the fentanyl and homelessness crisis, where we had some funding. We want to empower that local level to, as we said metaphorically many times in this meeting, to fix the pothole. Well, real big pothole is homelessness. It's more like a crater, it seems like. But, Wilsonville, West Lynn, Lake Oswego, Molalla, Canby, all coming up with unique plans for their individual communities to be grassroots oriented, to solve the problem, to help our neighbors. We're responsible for our neighbors. We're starting to do that, and I'm super proud of that work that we did yesterday, working with our staff in the cities, and that's just one more credit to good local public policy, where Clackamas County is right now Its star is rising because we're just modeling what good local government should be and what it looks like. And I keep seeing evidence of that. So that was, I think, something great that happened this week. Really happy to be back. I don't have a ton to report beyond that, just because I've been gone. But I get very giddy to come to work and to do this work every day. I love what I get to do, and I really like the colleagues I get to serve with, and how to help the people in my community. And I think there's a lot to be proud of in Clackamas County as we continue to do this work moving forward. And Chair, with that, I will pass the baton.
Thank you. Have you been officially sworn in?
In the Navy?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, I sworn in as an actual direct commissioned officer last May.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does that mean what rank are you?
I am Lieutenant J.G. West, and then I think I'll promote to lieutenant very shortly here, so.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I'm a junior officer in the Navy. And I
Okay.
serve as a nurse, and I'm assigned to the Mercy, which is right now dry docked in Portland. While I was back east, the Mercy floated in here. We have the largest dry dock in North America. It's getting its maintenance done right here in Portland.
Wow.
So I'll get to go tour that.
That's very interesting.
Yeah, it's a big hospital ship that provides humanitarian care. There's the hope at the other hemisphere. On this side, we get the Mercy, and we get to be the goodwill of the United States Armed Forces and help bring hope and healing to people in places where they may have had an earthquake or a tsunami or need some type of medical intervention or hope. We can do 1,000 hospital beds on that ship, 300 surgeries on that. We can, I think it's a month or a day or a number of surgeries. It's a huge ship that provides a lot of relief and healing and hope to people. So it's a really cool assignment to be on. I get to work on that as a nurse.
You don't get seasick, do you?
I think in a ship that big, there's not a lot of rocking and moving.
I just thought I'd ask. Well, thank you for that.
Thank you.
Very interesting. Up next, Commissioner Schrader.
Well, yeah, I've had a busy week this week. Yesterday, I attended the Business Resource Center and the Clackamas Community College Small Business Summit. So I got to sit in, which is why, ladies and gentlemen, I wasn't here with you yesterday. I was doing the meeting at the campus in Wilsonville. They gave me a little room, but I attended a number of the presentations. One of them was about financing and how small businesses get, introductory financing in order to start something as a startup or expand what they want to do in a larger area. And then I went to a symposium that was, how do you help onboard new staff so they feel welcome and they feel that they're part of an organization? And I think one of the reasons why we have, quite frankly, some excellent staff, particularly the Brown brothers, I love those guys because they're the ones responsible for doing all that outreach to get all the cities in one spot for the work that we're doing on houselessness. But how do you keep good staff like that? And sometimes I always say as a commissioner, sometimes my job is just to stay out of their way and let them do their jobs and be the cheerleader a little bit for the good work that what they do. In any case, this was an important meeting because the business resource centers were in the near past our business recovery centers. And that was where we put CARES dollars and ARPA dollars that we got directly from our national government, from the feds. And we got together and decided that the chambers would be the best venue to give bridge money to our businesses during the pandemic to make sure that they can survive, make sure they could maintain themselves, make sure that as they struggled with closures and all the other public health mandates that were coming down to us, whether we liked them or not, we just said, well, we can't really change that, but we can do is make sure that these smaller to medium-sized businesses survive. And they've done so well that Wilsonville has literally expanded outside of Clackamas County up and down the I-5 corridor, which is kind of huge. But I've been visiting the Sandy Chamber. I've been out in Estacada. I have to go to talk to the Wilsonville folks. I have to get to Canby, talk to Oregon City. Malala, but they like them so much, they're trying to figure out a way how they can keep it going as a consortium of chambers with that focus on really making sure that the smaller businesses are getting the services they need. They work with the community college at their small business center. It's one of the best small business centers, I think, in the state. They collaborate with one another now in ways. They have a quarterly meeting where they all get together and talk. So I'm trying to work with my contacts at the National Association of Counties to see what kind of funding is available for the continued operation of this consortium. And I think there could be dollars from the Department of Commerce. What I'm trying to do is figure out where's there a grant, where are there dollars, where is the opportunity for us to access those for this unique opportunity. I don't have the answer to that yet. I don't even know if I'm going to be successful, but I'm going to work really hard to be successful, because this is one of the best things. It's what you, Ben, what you described was similarly with the cities as well. When you pull together everybody and they collaborate, it makes a huge difference. And I did say to the governor once that it was the first time in the history I've been here, and the Clackamas County Coordinating Council with all the mayors and the community planning organizations, that first time in history with tolling, everybody was on the same page, and I kind of said to her, that was a miracle to behold. So I hope that we can continue that kind of collaborative work here in this county.
Yes, I remember that conversation that we had with the governor.
Oh, yeah, remember that? And
What?
that was the only comment I said. I said, 16 cities, never been happened in the history since I've been here, so I think we're on to something. So, yeah, she did give me a bit of a look with that.
I know.
Like, just saying.
That was fun.
Hey, that was a good one. You were there, too. The other thing I did the other day was, thanks to my friend Mark Waller from Lake Oswego, I went to visit Ann Wilkinson at her Build project, which is a kind of a communal living space for people with developmental disabilities. Anne has a developmentally disabled son, and she has come up with a model. She's got a PhD in social service delivery systems, and she came up with a model, and it's right by Cascade Heights, actually, by the way, where you house people who are developmentally disabled. The families will buy into the housing. They have a communal eating area. They have various providers that are hooked into helping these folks, depending on who they want to have in there, DHS, maybe mobility issues, but they allow all of that to happen there, and these folks are living in their own beautiful spaces and homes, living a life that is absolutely fabulous because they have mobility, and they're living alone in these beautiful homes, but they also have that community around them, and that it's being looked at across the country too. So that's maybe another thing Clackamas County should take a closer look at that. I know that they want to expand, and I think it's a great model. So that was kind of fun. The last thing I did do was I did go to visit our friends out at Wichita just to get a look, because I'd never really been in the building before, and I know that we're in conversations with that we have to keep, their negotiations, so we can't say too much about that, but I will tell you their food banks, the clothing that they provide, and the services, I was impressed, and it was good for me to at least get a look-see at that particular building, and they were very happy I showed up.
Good.
And I also walked around the park area just to get it, to orient myself. So that's my news for now, and thanks for letting me talk.
Thank you, Commissioner Schrader. Commissioner Scholl, you're up next.
Thank you, and good morning, Clackamas County. On transportation, IP4, don't forget about it. It's our tool to put voting before the voters in Oregon, to kill tolling. Also, next week on 10 April, please join us at the Sunrise Corridor meeting at Adrian C. Nelson High School Commons, Southeast Parkland Drive, Happy Valley at 5:30, and come give us your opinion on your vision of what the Sunrise Corridor should look like between 122nd and 172nd. On farming, a few weeks ago, I talked to you about Oregon Department of Agriculture's intent to increase regulations on small dairies. As a result of public outcry and our farming communities, last week, Oregon Department of Agriculture rescinded those regulations that could have put some of our small dairies out of business. And so I thank everybody who contacted their state rep and the State Department of Agriculture on that. That's a success, and it goes to show when the people speak in large numbers, Salem listens. At least they did this time. On Measure 110, as most people know, that the governor signed HB 4002A last week, reversing Oregon's drug decriminalization experiment. I'm very thankful for that. And I also want to thank the thousands of people in Clackamas County who took part with the Board of Commissioners to demand that Measure 110 be modified or repealed. So the modification is a step in the right direction. Thank you all for participating in your local government on Measure 110. On forestry, the Oregon Department of Forestry is inviting public comment on the plan for 2025 on state-owned lands, and you can contact them through their state forest website and look at the annual operation plan and make your comments known. On immigration and how it affects Clackamas County, on my way in this morning on the radio, I heard Mayor Wheeler speaking about a problem he has with paying for illegal aliens and asylum seekers in Portland. The federal government has sent illegal aliens and asylum seekers, so they say, to cities throughout America without informing the state that they send them to, without informing the counties, and without informing the cities. We know that there are untold millions of illegal aliens in the United States now in our cities. What happens when the federal dollars end? Like the federal dollars ended in Portland this morning, when Mayor Wheeler had to respond to what do we do now to pay for these people. We can't put them on the street, he said, and I agree with him. But we need to make sure that our representatives to the United States Congress are protecting the people of this state and of this county. When they send people here that we are going to potentially have to pay for in some way that is unknown to us at this time, we don't have the money for it. What do we do when the federal money runs out? Every citizen in this county needs to be talking to their Merkley and Wyden. Why is this happening to us? 2 days ago, a constituent informed me that buses from the border arrived in this county at a hotel where those people, and I don't know if they're bona fide asylum seekers or if they're illegal aliens, undocumented people, they're housed in a hotel here in this county. And then yesterday, I was informed by another constituent who lives in an apartment complex in one of our northern cities, and I'm not going to tell you which one it is today because I'm concerned about it, that the many apartments that were vacant a few days ago are no longer vacant. What happens when the federal dollars for those apartments run out? Are we going to be asking Clackamas County to pay for those expenses like Mayor Wheeler, God bless him, I don't know what else he would do, but he turned to the Board of Commissioners at Multnomah County for funding. This county cannot budget and pay for illegal aliens in numbers that we are not even told about. The federal government is betraying our state and our county and our cities. Also, by federal law, it's required that our hospitals treat these new arrivals just like they would you. They can't turn them away. Now, I haven't heard reports from our hospitals in this area, but I did get a report from Denver, and their hospitals are crashing under the pressure and the expense of treating illegal aliens. Hospitals in the Phoenix area report that they have to turn away American citizens because of the pressure to treat illegal aliens. I do not appreciate the federal government putting these burdens on our state and on our county, especially when they do not coordinate with us when they're sending these new immigrants. I'm not sure what the term I should use, but when they send them to our state and put us potentially on the hot seat for paying for them. It's got to stop, and people need to talk to Merkley and Wyden and your representatives to the U.S. Congress. This is not a small deal, okay? This is not a small deal. On the Portland water filtration plant, there are some people on the east end of the county who continue to fight the Portland Water Bureau and their plan to put a $2 billion filtration plant just across the border into Multnomah County. And they have retained lawyers to help them with this fight. And you can go to controlcpo.com and donate to the legal fight. Or not this weekend, but next weekend, go to the Sandy, Oregon Farmers Market, where the Control CPO will have some 700 plants and trees and shrubs for sale to help fund their fight to preserve farmland and the rural way of life in the eastern part of our county. Now, on families and new life. Last week, I was endorsed by Oregon Right to Life and the Center for Human Dignity. In the same week, I was informed by my son Morgan and my beautiful daughter-in-law Kaylee that in November I will be a grandfather for the first time. God,
When?
excuse me, God is good. In that moment, when they told me that, all the hardships in my life, the difficulties I've endured, all became mute and all worth it. And that one realization that a new life is coming to my family in the form of a new grandson or granddaughter. And I wish that every baby deserves the same wonderful chance at life that my grandchild will be getting from my son Morgan and my lovely daughter-in-law Kaylee. And also, on the same note, I wish that every woman who is pregnant receives the same love and nurturing that my daughter-in-law will get from my son Morgan. And finally, a comment about the Constitution of the United States. I'm not pleased at the disrespect it's getting in this country at this time. I'm not pleased with the respect the Constitution of the United States is getting from the Biden administration. So a quote of the day on the Constitution. The Constitution is not a living organism. It is a legal document, and it says what it says, and it doesn't say what it doesn't say. Supreme Court Justice Antonin Scalia. And by the way, his loss in 2016 was a terrible loss for the protection of our Constitution. I thank everybody in Clackamas County for your time this morning. Thank you and have a good day.
Thank you. Up next, Commissioner Savas.
Yeah, well, I made a couple of notes when Commissioner West was talking about potholes, and I'm going to kind of start with the potholes, and I'm not going to end with the potholes, but I'm going to come back to potholes. But I always used to say, up until today, that it was safe to say that those potholes out there in the road are nonpartisan. I totally agree. It's the metaphorical ones that I have a concern about. I think some of them are perhaps partisan. So with that as a lead-in, I do want to report that not this Wednesday, not yesterday, but the week ago Wednesday, I spoke before the TriMet board. They were doing their tour, and they were in Clackamas County at the Harmony campus at Clackamas Community College. And I spoke to them, and basically my message was about the legislative intent of House Bill 2017, which had a new tax that is applied to employees who work in Oregon. And that tax was intended, or is intended, to provide transit service, unlike the transit tax for employers, unlike that, provide transit service within a mile or less of where people live, because that is a gap that we have in this region. I was elated by that we had new money coming in for that. And anyhow, in the State Rules Committee, in the year following, that was basically somewhat influenced and changed more so by our TriMet itself lobbying for a change there. I won't go into the technical details as to why, but in long story short, there's millions and millions of dollars that are not being applied there, but are being paid by residents. Anyone who has a job here, they're part of their tax in this state of Oregon is going towards this, but they're not getting the service, and that was basically my point. While TriMet has typically said the reason that they can't or should not, or why there's not a business case to expand transit in Clackamas County, is because we don't have a lot of transportation-oriented development. And, you know, that, for people who don't know what that means, that's typically these high-rise buildings in which, you know, they're 5, 6, 10 stories high. People live, and there's just one building after another building after another building, which, when you think about it, if you think about metropolitan areas, you know, that's not what people think of when they think of Oregon. When they come to Oregon, they think about the beautiful landscape of Oregon and where we all live in the beautiful countryside, and that's what I think about our area where we live, and so forth, and not metropolitan. But we have great transit service, and for years, in our rural cities like Canby, Molalla, Estacada, Sandy, and others, including our areas. But there's a lot of areas of Clackamas County that has no transit whatsoever, and a lot of that's within TriMet Service District. So I spoke on behalf of the county there.
Good.
On Monday, when the Region 1 Act, what was discussed there in light of the governor's decision to put a pause on tolling was really the funding crisis. And my concern for the last several months, what was coming from, or I've been hearing out of ODOT officials at the higher echelon of ODOT, has been, you know, a concern that, geez, you know, we're getting less bang for our buck for every dollar, gas tax dollar. Our inflation's high for transportation cost, asphalt, concrete, maintenance, personnel. All agree with all of that. However, we're in the same boat. We're in the same boat, folks. We rely on that. There's what's called the 50-30-20 split. For every dollar of gas tax in Oregon, 50 cents of that dollar goes to the state, 30 cents goes to the county, 20 cents goes to the city. We call it the 50-30-20 split. Well, what's been shared here, we've heard rumors for several months that ODOT is saying, why are we giving the counties and the cities our money? Like it's like it's their money. And despite the fact that we have been, and started over a year ago, a joint effort with AOC and LOC, the Association of Counties and the League of Oregon Cities, a mutual conversation about how we fund this particular need, not just for us, cities and counties, but for all of us, city, county, and state. On the flip side, or the state of ODOT is not talking about the counties and the cities in regard as a team or a team effort. So we heard a little bit more of that, and of course I raised that once again because we had two officials there from ODOT, and I shared again once that we're in this together. This is a mutual effort, concern that we're running out of money. And by the way, getting back to potholes, that's the money we rely on to fill the actual potholes in the road, to maintain our roads. And if the state is going to do what they've done, or do what other states have done, and take those monies away from us, that leaves us with nothing, and that's a crisis. So I expect that AOC and LOC will be very loud in making that point, and I will continue to advocate for that. While we can somewhat, and I just learned this morning during our meeting that we just got official from ODOT that they're not going to pursue the supplemental environmental assessment analysis, that EA. That's good news. That means that for now, that's just one less pressure point on tolling for the I-205 corridor, one less pressure point going forward. So that'll take some of the heat off. But it's time for a reset. And the reset's already, though it's already in place, we need to again talk about the funding crisis that we have for a number of things, but in this case, transportation. If we don't get in front of it, ODOT will lead it, and ODOT will take our money.
Yep.
So we need to be very mindful, and we need to be solution-oriented in our discussions. And I think that might be a little bit of what we talk about tonight, but it'll be a lot about what we talk about on Monday. Monday, I'll be representing you in Salem for a discussion with the OTC and the other acts in the state and Modal Act chairs meeting. We'll be having that discussion in Salem, so those conversations will continue. The governor assigned HB 4002, I believe, on Monday, which is that, which kind of reverses some of the legalization to the illegalization of use of drugs. So I applaud the governor for signing the bill. And when we talk about how wonderful Clackamas County is and why we're so successful, I think, as we've all talked about, whether it's how we're making advances on homelessness, all of the things that we're doing with drug enforcement. We have a stellar sheriff's office staff, sheriff's office, the boots on the ground that have been, whether it's been on the transit, when they're fighting some of the transit issues on safety issues, or whether it's fighting drugs. I think it's known in this region, the last place you want to get arrested in this region is Clackamas County, and I want to thank all of our law enforcement for that. And without the DA's office, whether it's the past district attorneys or the current district attorney and all their staff, without their work, that work would be lost, that effort would be lost. So it's a team effort. And I just want to say how proud I am of all the employees in Clackamas County, including our DA's office, law enforcement, and everyone. And I think how we recognize people and onboard people and retain people is trying to help them grow, help them build, and believing that in the mission and what we're all doing. So I just want to say that today I'm proud not only to be a county commissioner, proud to be a resident of Clackamas County, but I'm also proud of all the people that all make that happen. That's a team effort, whether it's our cities and our efforts on tolling, all of that, however you look at it, teamwork matters. Not one person individually can do this, and I just want to applaud everyone for their efforts. Thank you.
Ditto, Commissioner Savas. I'd just like to add to your ODOT statement. And you are very right, and part of the problem with ODOT saying that they can yank our monies back is the lack of legislative oversight. And when I was in the legislature, I served on Ways and Means my entire time. And that's the money committees. And I never wanted to serve on the Transportation Committee because legislature had no oversight on how the money was being spent. And until that happens, I think that we're in a world of hurt. And I also am echoing some sentiments of at least a couple legislators I know. We need a full audit of ODOT and where the money is coming in, how much, and where it's going out, and how it's being spent. And that's a very big problem. Others have talked about House Bill 4002. The governor signed it. However, it will not go into effect until September 1, of which time I hope the money comes with it on September 1, since Clackamas County is one of the counties that agreed to implement that. Very good. Last Sunday was Easter. I hope we all had a good time with that. I personally didn't get out of bed. I was still sick, but it was just a beautiful day for an Easter egg hunt. And if you went to church, if you had family dinners, all those traditional holidays that we enjoy. As chair, one of my duties is to meet with the chairs of the two other tri-county chairs, and that'd be Washington County and Multnomah County. And this Monday night, we had a meeting regarding Metro and how they want to increase the tax that just passed. The supported housing service tax is an income tax on supposedly high earners, high-income earners. And it's a 10-year tax that's supposed to expire, and the question was put to voters, should we have this tax and try to end homelessness? Well, it failed to pass in Clackamas County. But because of the Metro and how we're joined at the hip, the two other counties voted for it, so begrudgingly, Clackamas County has had to go along with that. Now we're in year 3 of the 10-year levy, and remember, in year 1, you don't collect taxes. So we've only collected taxes for 2 years. Metro has decided they want to make the tax permanent. And so they are convening a group of people, about 50 people. They call it the roundtable discussions, of which the tri-chairs are a part of. And we are in meeting 3 or 4, and we realized that the tri-chairs weren't being allowed to speak, and the meetings have been very one-sided. This is the amount of money that we have, and we need more. And this is the amount of money we have, and we need more. Oh, this is the amount of money we have, and we need more in year 3. And so at the last meeting that we had, I stood up and said, you've presented us with money, but yet you have not presented the case of how many homeless people have been taken off the street and treated and into programs. And failure to do so is an admission that this has failed. The entire program has failed, and yet you want to go back out to citizens and ask them for more? And I said, you haven't earned the right to ask citizens for more money on homelessness when there is still a homeless problem, especially in Portland and Multnomah County. And so the tri-chairs have come together to make our plea. We want to tell our side of the story at these meetings. And we were denied, and we were denied until we appealed to Lynn Peterson, and finally, I think the message got back that on this next April 17th, the tri-chairs, me included and the other two, are going to present to this group that, number one, we are not sitting on tens of millions of dollars in the bank and not spending it, which is the accusation from Metro. We are not. We have allocated programs in Clackamas County. We have passed a funding program, and the money is going out the door. But yes, we still have some money in our savings account because those programs are currently being allocated. RFPs are going out, call for services are going out, and we're enlisting nonprofit organizations to do these services for us. So I will keep you posted on that. Frankly, this is one of the topics that really makes my blood boil. It's not my favorite duty as chair to go to downtown Portland and attend the Metro Chamber meetings. But I feel that many times I'm the lone voice in this group. But we'll continue on it. I'll continue to give you updates on it. I believe that probably the powers that Metro will put out for a vote this November in year 3 of the 10 years. They're going to ask citizens to extend the permanent tax.
To forever.
to forever.
Get a forever tax.
And unfortunately, they are going to ask the question, do you support a reduction in your income tax? That's how the question is going to be posed. Do you know why? You know how they get away with that? Because they're going to recalculate the tax tables. So for one group, there may be a reduction in the tax. But I can guarantee you, this is not a tax reduction, which is very disingenuous, it's very dishonest, and as crooked as can be. Thank you. Commissioner Savas, you're up.
Yeah, just one thing I forgot to mention, and I had an appointment yesterday, so I could not attend the employees' luncheon, but I just want to acknowledge that our treasured administrator was celebrated yesterday for 15 years of service at Clackamas County, Gary Schmidt.
Thank you, Paul, for mentioning that.
So Gary, I just want to just say, sorry I couldn't be there, but I did want to give you an applause and thank you for your service.
Thank you very much, Commissioners.
Thanks for mentioning that. I totally forgot.
Well, and Gary, that's why we're going to do a civics program, so we can get more people like you to work here. Just putting a plug in.
Commissioner West, you have a brief comment.
Brief, because I just totally wanted to piggyback on your super important comments. I had a phone conversation yesterday about the task force meetings from Metro on this, now wanting to make it a forever. By the way, it's so funny how, like, when we get a 10-year tax, we'll reduce the tax burden on one group, but it's still a tax savings to you, even though we're paying it forever. So how is it a tax saving for anybody when they go from paying it for 10 years only to paying it in perpetuity forever? That's not a tax reduction on anybody. But he said to me that he was in this, it's like almost like a dog and pony show. They do these little task force so they can try to create this little this evidence that shows, look, this is a good idea and people want to do this, and they put on the ballot measure. And everybody in the room, except for two business guys that are there to represent the business community, every one of those people benefited from the tax because they're part of the nonprofits and the NGOs. They get money and stay alive because of the tax, and they were overwhelmingly the ones in the room discussing on whether or not to increase it. That sounds like a conflict of interest to me from Metro. And the business guys were like, how is this even relevant? Because every one of you in here actually receive direct payment to keep your services running. So how is this even an objective?
It's not.
Metro's doing this whole like jazz hands and slide of cards, and once again, like, let's put this on the backs of Clackamas County. They also tried to say in that meeting, well, we have to extend this because it's not getting better. We still have so many homeless people. Nobody's seeing improvement. And one of the businessmen popped was like, well, then you're not paying attention to Clackamas County because it has a 65% decrease year over year. So obviously, when you have good government doing the right thing locally, you can get a decrease in homelessness. And so let's be careful about who we say isn't having success, because Clackamas is.
So
That's why we insist, just a minute, that's why we insisted the tri-chairs to make their presentation. Washington County is doing well also. Multnomah County has some challenges, but I'm sure they will present some interesting data at that point. Did you have a comment, Commissioner Scholl? I mean,
Schrader.
Because Scholl has his light on over
You got
here.
us going again, Chair.
Go ahead, Commissioner Scholl. Go ahead. I don't care.
If Metro wants to tax the people forever, it will only ensure that Metro government does not last forever.
Yeehaw!
We agree.
We agree. Well, seeing no further business before this commission, we are adjourned.